Yo, what's up guys? This is Rise and welcome to another video. Recently, I traveled back to my hometown in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where I got to hang with family and participate in the Milwaukee Regional Championships for Pokemon Go. We ended up going on a pretty solid run where I was really happy with how I played, and I'll be taking you guys through the run. This will be a longer video, so feel free to sit back, grab a snack, pause the video, and enjoy as we take you through this run. And I feel like I should start by providing the team that I built for this tournament. And I built partially around this spicy Pokemon right here. This is kind of the standout Pokemon on the team with Dragon Breath, Dragon Pulse, and Aqua Tail as the moveset, my Shadow Dragonair. And one reason I decided to run Shadow Dragonair in this meta was because I was seeing an uptick in some Shadow Talonflame usage, and I wanted something that could really hard punish it or maybe scare it away because I thought it was really oppressive. And I also just liked the neutral play of Dragonair in the meta. It has a lot of play against Corsola. It has a lot of play against Credilli, Gastrodon, very neutral matchups. It's not like it necessarily dominates those matchups. Credilli is one that can actually be kind of bad for it in certain scenarios, which we'll get into later. But Dragonair, I just really liked the spamminess of it with 9 turns to every Aqua Tail. The fact that it could hard punish things like Talonflame, good against ground types with that Aqua Tail coverage. And I surprised myself because I was running Wrap for a while in preparation for this. Wrap being a move that debuffs your opponent's defense, hits a little bit harder than Aqua Tail, but having that threat of the Dragon Pulse nuke can just be really threatening. So Dragonair was this is very similar to the original team that I built my first draft, and I went on several different team drafts and kind of just came back to this. If you guys want to watch a video on me building a team for a regional, feel free to let me know if that's something you'd be interested in, that type of content. But yeah, Dragonair was kind of the unique pick. Credilli, the most used Pokemon in this meta. For a reason. It's really strong with Acid, Rock Tomb, just debuffing things, and then Grass Knot, of course, to potentially one-shot some of those ground types. You've got Dusknoir, which originally I was running Corsola, and I opted for Dusknoir because of the oppressive nature of it. If I run Corsola here, I feel like the team just kind of lacks that firepower, right? And Dusknoir provides a little bit more pressure with that extra attack and can really punish certain things, get farm downs easier. And one other reason for Dusknoir was to have more coverage for Scizor, because if you look at my Wigglytuff, Credilli, and Dragonair, right, I'm kind of weak to Scizor, and Dusknoir has the ability to just completely farm down Scizor because the Astonishes will outpace the Bullet Punch damage, versus Corsola can do the same, but you also don't pace as quickly, and you can't farm it down as easily as Dusknoir. If it's not a good Scizor, Dusknoir can actually completely farm it down before it even gets to 2 Night Slashes. So it's actually a pretty good matchup for Dusknoir. And then I go with Corviknight as a neutral pick, very neutral in this meta. We've been seeing more Bastiodon, and Corviknight with the Sand Attack, double super effective, has a pretty good matchup there with Payback. And then also just a nice generalist against 2 things in particular, Credilli and Gastrodon. It actually loses to Credilli, and it's not the most comfortable against Gastrodon either. But when building this team, I recognized that I was awfully soft to Credilli and Mudslap, or at least those Pokemon were very safe against this team. My best Credilli answer being Dusknoir, and my best Mudslap answer, I guess, being Credilli or Corviknight. But what that allowed me in this tournament was to make reads and it made my opponents more predictable, is what I found. When I was scrimming, I felt really good about this team because I probably won like 90% of my scrims, and a large part of that was I felt like this team made it predictable to what my opponents would run, and that helped me outplay them neutrally sometimes because I had a good idea of what they were running. So without further ado, let's get into the battles themselves. And we start off on the loser's side of day 1. This is the first match I'm going to be showing you guys. But actually, before we get into that real quick, I should probably pull up the bracket to give you guys an idea of how this tournament started, because this is not the first match I played. This is just the first match on stream. So if I get into the bracket, I was in Group C. I was the number 1 seed of Group C, the number 3 seed overall, behind ILQM and Out of Pocket. And then we started off against NP Bex, a trainer. It was his first ever tournament, and he defeats me in game number 1. I dropped game number 1, and immediately I'm feeling a little nervous. My family's there. I felt really confident about my team, and I dropped game number 1. And honestly, it was a Shadow Caesar team, which is a little bit annoying. And it wasn't just the Caesar. It was actually the Caesar Moltres core, because if we go back to my team for just a brief moment, you'll see that Caesar and Moltres really kind of cover everything except for maybe the Stunfisk. The Stunfisk can kind of beat both of those, but he also, I believe, had a Shadow Kanto Marowak and a Credilli, which make it awkward for me to bring the Stunfisk. So, yeah. So Caesar just like hard beats 3, right? And then Moltres hard beats Dusknoir and beats Corviknight, because Corviknight can only threaten it with the very weak Air Cutter damage. So, yeah. Moltres Caesar core, definitely uncomfortable for me. But we manage to find a way, and I do win the next 2 games against NP Bex. I then face off against Bosox Guy, a really talented battler from the Boston area, and he, he actually had a very similar team to NP Bex, and if you look at the bracket, Bosox Guy actually had a bye here in round 1 since Captain Quad was not there. So this is Bosox's first game is against me, and I basically played a very similar team in round 1. So it was almost, even though I don't get a bye and he does get a bye, it's like almost an advantage for me, because I basically got a practice match against a very similar team where he was also running Caesar and Moltres core. Then winter semifinals, we lose to Meteor Fallion, a trainer that was running Bastiodon, Fearow in a very unique team, and definitely a lot earlier than I wanted to lose. If you're unfamiliar with these formats, it's double elimination. So if you lose, you get sent to the loser's bracket, and you have to win pretty much twice as many games. You also no longer have that margin of error to drop a game and still be alive in the tournament. So in just my 3rd match, I lost to Meteor Fallion off stream, and what stood out to me from this particular match was he never brought the Credilli. So my strategy of being able to predict what my opponents usually bring against me kind of failed against him, because he brought lines I wasn't really expecting. I think he went really weak to Stunfisk one game where he didn't bring the Credilli, and he brought like Bastiodon and Fearow ABA or something. So yeah, really tough set here where he ran some really unpredictable lines to me and was able to get the better of me in this set. I tried to just kind of bring like my 3 most neutral Pokemon, and it just wasn't enough when I couldn't get the alignment against his Bastiodon and his Fearow. So, yeah, well played by Meteor Fallion, who, spoiler alert, also went on a really good run in this tournament. So that drops us to the loser's bracket, where then I played against Mormon Matt, and he had a pretty unique team, if I remember correctly. Pretty unique team. We were able to get the win. I then played against No Cape here in losers round 5. And this was the last match pretty much off stream. And ironically, we started the battle, and I saw a Goodra in the lead. And then I realized there's no Goodra on your team. and I'm like, oh, wait, you gave me the wrong team sheet. So this happens sometimes. He forgot to exchange team sheets with his previous opponent, Beach. And I had the wrong team sheet. So then we just stopped. I said, it's all good. We get to stop the battle. And then we got a judge, and the judges printed him a new team sheet. Was then able to win this set 2-0. And yeah, I forget what the lead was exactly when we redid it, but I remember I lost lead in the redo of game 1 when I originally had 1 lead. So I was like, uh-oh, this could be bad, but I think we were able to maneuver pretty well. And then that takes us to our first stream match. Winners Finals Day 1 against Flying Pizza.
Really hard hitting.
Here we go.
Neutral move there, and he said, it's going to get a lot of good neutral coverage into this meta. Not a ton of fairy
Caleb
types,
Pang and H. Shira casting this. put the volume a little bit lower. And we're getting ready to lock in this run. Here we go. Game number 1. I lead my Shadow Dragonair into the Marowak. And Flying Pizza immediately swaps into Gator. And he actually fires off the Hydro Cannon here. I know it's just a Hydro Cannon, so I elect to let it go. And keep in mind, I'm running Dragon Pulse, which pretty much threatens to one-shot him. And I go for the bait. And I thought I had a good shot at getting a shield here, but Flying Pizza calls the bait, which makes things really awkward for me. And then we then we are forced to go for another Aqua Tail here. We'll get into the bait calling later on, but because there was something funny about that. But then he goes for a Hydro Cannon here. I'm just going to have to soft lose this. And I know I'm really weak to the Moltres in the back, so I'm kind of hoping there's no Moltres and hoping it's something like the Credilli. Because once again, I feel like Credilli is so safe against my team. Credilli is always coming. But in this particular battle, there was no Credilli, which I think was kind of one of my kryptonites of this tournament. The games I lost oftentimes were because I was expecting Credilli, and maybe when it didn't come, sometimes that's when things were worst for me. So we're just kind of forced to stay in here, and Flying Pizza must be recognizing, you know, he's staying in a not-so-great matchup. What could be in the back? And he's probably recognizing that it might be the Dusknoir at this point. As Caleb just pointed out. And I go for another Air Cutter. He starts shielding the Moltres, recognizing that his Moltres is valuable at this point. And I'm going to shield to get off another Air Cutter here. Just kind of hoping that he lets the Air Cutter go. Give myself a chance. But he shields again. And a nice double down by Flying Pizza. As he gets my final, or I get his final Protect Shield. I'm forced to swap Dusknoir here, taking a lot of Sucker Punch damage. And I have to shield, of course. Fly would pretty much knock me out from this range. And I know that Marowak is still fully healthy, so I'm not feeling too confident here, but I'm just going to give myself a chance. Do 4 Astonishes to maximize my damage. Go for the Dynamic Punch, which hits a little harder. But I know this probably won't be quite enough to knock out the Marowak. And let's see, is there any way? No, Marowak hangs on with a good, like, what, 4% health? And Bone Club is going to knock me out. And we'll play this out, but I understand my Corviknight is just too low at this point where I'm probably going to get farmed down by fast attacks. We do Sand Attack down the Marowak, but then one Sucker Punch gets our Corviknight. And good game, well played. We drop game number 1 to Flying Pizza. Let's see how we can adjust. After game 1, I figured maybe it's too risky to run both Dusk and Corv together because that just makes me really soft in handling that Moltres. So I decided to mix up my line for game number 2 and run something a little bit stronger against the Moltres and also the Feraligatr, because the Feraligatr is also quite safe against my team. So I'm predicting Feraligatr is also pretty much going to come every time. And we lead Stunfisk into Feraligatr. So, not bad at all. I know that a catch is potentially coming, so I'm pretty patient here. Don't throw right away. Counterswap Corviknight into Marowak. And we're going to resist the Mud Slap, so a pretty decent matchup here. But these Rock Slides do hit pretty hard now, and they're almost going to two-shot us with the Mud Slap damage. So he puts us at about half health there. And I decided to go for the bait because I was thinking, I don't know what I was thinking, but he actually calls the bait again. Called my Aqua Tail bait the first time. This time calls this. And at this point, I'm thinking, I don't know if I'm going to live the Rock Slide when he gets there. So I'm just going to go for an Air Cutter here to put this in farm down range. And Flying Pizza is going to get off this Rock Slide. I don't feel like it's worth a shield. I can't really shield, because if I shield, he can just combo play me with his Feraligatr. So instead, I let it go, and I'm going to farm down with the Dragonair. Luckily, I don't take that second Mud Slap. So my Dragonair, keep in mind, is super healthy. And I just decide when he comes in with the Gator to combo with the Discharge. So this grabs me a Protect Shield. And it also desyncs the switch timer. And then Flying Pizza decides to throw the Hydro. So I'm like, huh, if it was Credilli, maybe he would just swap. So maybe it's actually the Moltres again. But no, it is the Credilli. We're patient. We don't allow the catch. Flying Pizza trying to keep track of energy there. And we're just going to be spamming these off. And because 2 charge attacks were thrown, we create quite a big desync in the switch clock. And keep in mind, like, he probably understands that my switch timer is up at this point, so I could just be switching right now. But instead, I build up one before my Mud Bomb, and then I catch the Grass Knot. And then this is actually a visual glitch. Remember, our Dragonair was at like 90% health? It still is. But for some reason, it takes on the health bar of the Stunfisk, so it looks like it's lower health than it actually is. So this is kind of confusing in the moment. Because I think in the moment, I thought he, like, undercharged this completely. But no, he didn't undercharge. It was just a glitch on the health bar. And then I go for the Dragon Pulse here on charge attack priority. And check out the reaction of Flying Pizza here. Dragon Pulse comes through. He's like, wait, he's running Dragon Pulse? He didn't realize I was running Dragon Pulse. That's why he was calling the baits before. And that really throws him off, right? Because mid-battle, he didn't even realize I was running Dragon Pulse. So, like, how is he supposed to, in this moment, like, know if I have another one or not? Because I was almost there, but I was a little bit short. He does shield, and this shield provides me, I think, with a win condition where I don't know if I would have been able to Thunder Shock down, but one Thunder Shock, it's a charge attack priority. Can the bulky Pancake live here? The thick Flapjack, Flat Stanley, he lives. And this charge will KO. And yeah, based off the damage an Aqua Tail would have done, I think best case scenario, maybe I would have like gotten a tie here if he called that. But it would have been really close. So we are able to stay alive here in game number 2, setting up a decisive game 3. Fraggin' Wagon, the judge. I think someone in a previous... I just got flashback. Someone in a previous recap video, I remember, said there's like a way I can skip ahead more seconds than just using the arrow. I forget what that is. My bad. If you want to comment it again. Game 3. I lead Stunfisk again and catch the Moltres. So a great lead. Immediately off the bat, this is playing very similar to the first game. And also, you know, Flying Pizza's team on paper, right, is really soft to Credilli. Doesn't really have a hard answer, but Flying Pizza was actually running Heavy Slam on his Tinkaton, which makes the Credilli matchup really bad, as opposed to when it's running Bulldoze Play Rough, the Credilli matchup is actually not that bad against Tinkaton. So we're in the same situation basically as last game. And remember, he keeps calling these baits. So at this point, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go for it. And even if he shields, at least I can take shield advantage and maybe set up like my Credilli to put in a lot of work. And also once Marowak is gone, Stunfisk is pretty good. He did go ABB to the Stunfisk, however. So he brought both of his best Stunfisk answers. Air Cutter knocks out the Marowak. In comes Moltres, and I understand Moltres is going to get a pretty sizable farm down here, but I still feel like my best course of action is to allow myself to get farmed and make sure I can just keep my alignment with Stunfisk onto the Moltres, because it is a double flying moveset on the Moltres, so Stunfisk can resist both charge attacks. I come back in with Stunfisk. He's going to throw a Brave Bird here before likely switching out. And I'm going to make sure I save my shield because I figure it could be the Credilli. And I see the Credilli. I swap. I consciously don't throw a Mud Bomb first to chip because I don't want to create a desync in the switch timer. I want to make sure I get 2 Rock Tombs off against this Credilli. He fires at me. I'm not going to shield, even though this one is not debuffed yet, because I know after my debuff, I can still comfortably live the second one and get to another move of my own. Rock Tomb connects. And once again, as he's approaching this move, I am not going to shield. I'm going to save my shields for Stunfisk, because if I can get this thing into Mud Bomb range, that's good for me. I actually like to go for Grass Knot. This may have been unnecessary, but in my head, I was just going for more damage to make sure it got into Mud Bomb range. So, yeah, maybe Rock Tomb like would have been fine there. But I just go for the Grass Knot to do a little bit more damage. You see Flying Pizza shaking his head, understanding that this is now kind of an awkward position for him. And I was pretty... you see me like tilting my head. I'm like, this is probably going to be a Rock Tomb bait. But luckily for me, it was the Grass Knot. So a good shield. And I'm expecting a catch at some point. And this is starting to look pretty good for us. I get off the discharge. And now we just have to hope we can Thundershock down before they get to a threatening attack like a Brave Bird. And we get the full Thundershock down. And now the game is pretty much decided. Almost at the double Mud Bomb. And, yeah, we still have a shield to hide behind as well. So Flying Pizza going to let this Mud Bomb go through. And that sends us to day number 2. A great set against Flying Pizza. And, you know, he nearly had me in that game number 2. So that was a set that really could have gone either way. And we're able to pull it out there in the end. So that sets us up for day number 2, as I said. And if I go to... If I go to the bracket, as we advance to day number 2, I can show you guys. I start off in the loser's side of the bracket where I played against my teammate Valarash. Valarash was running the Talonflame that we were kind of preparing for with our team, and I felt like I had a pretty positive team composition against Valarash. You know what I can actually do is I can go to dracoviz.com, a terrific resource for looking at like the stats of these tournaments and stuff. And if I go to Valarash's page, I can quickly pull up his team. And this is the team that he was running in Milwaukee. Clodsire, Corsola, Credilli, Greninja, Talonflame, and Tinkaton. So this was not on stream. This was off stream at the tables. But Dragonair really put in a lot of work for me in this battle, because against my team, it is not that easy really to bring the Tinkaton, right? The Stunfisk and the Corviknight beat it pretty hard. Dusknoir as well, just kind of out-oppressive natures the Tinkaton. And Credilli neutrally can beat it, which is pretty crazy considering they resist everything, but like you debuff it and then Credilli somehow wins that matchup just because Tinkaton can't really output enough pressure. So Tinkaton's like not that great against my team, honestly, especially if I'm not bringing the Wigglytuff, and the Wigglytuff is pretty difficult also to bring against Valarash's team with the Clodsire, the Credilli, the Talonflame, the Tinkaton. Like it has 4 checks, so yeah, and it was a Sludge Bomb Clodsire. So my Dragonair ended up putting in a ton of work in this set because the Tinkaton actually never came against me. So Dragonair didn't get as much shine on stream as I would have liked, but off stream, it was probably my MVP. And yeah, Dragonair just neutrally for me was able to dance around so many games and put in a lot of work. I got it aligned with the Greninja a couple times where you can like take a Night Slash, farm up, go for an Aqua Tail, which KOs before the next Night Slash. So, yeah, sorry, I keep saying a lot. My bad. Let's get it together, Chris, you professional broadcaster, you announcer. Stop saying filler words. But anyway, that sets us up for day number 2 here. We take down Valarash, and now we are going to try to advance on further in the tournament. Oh, I did it again. It'll probably keep happening. It's no big deal. Let's find our first battle on stream was against Delusion. So I'm just kind of scrolling through here. I can go over. There's Mr. Homeslice Henry, Alpha Phoebe. And I think I have found it. So
Super excited to see that Shadow Dragonair because we saw that matchup yet. Took him by surprise.
this is Delusion, also known as Fict, who you guys may know. Long time viewer, supporter of the channel, has sent us in so many amazing spicy battles over the years. Always impressed with his gameplay, with his spicy teams. And he was running Shadow Empoleon Wigglytuff core, which was kind of scary for me, right? Because if you look at my team, Empoleon basically hard beats 3 with Wiggly, Credilli, and Dragonair. And then his Wiggly beats my Dragonair, Dusk, and Stunfisk kind of. It is a positive matchup against. So my best core breaker to these two is going to be my Corviknight. So Corviknight was pretty much always going to come for me in this battle, in this match. And I get the best lead, the best answer I have for Credilli in my Dusknoir here, game number 1. So this is a really solid matchup for me because I resist the acid damage, and Dusknoir is bulky enough where I can take a Rock Tomb without the risk of getting farmed down by Credilli. So I just throw after 1 here. And I think Delusion said he thought I was going to bait here, so that's kind of why he no-shielded. But I get the farm down here, and after this farm down, I'm like immediately in a pretty good position. I know that there's possibly an Empoleon in the back. That's what I'm predicting. Empoleon Wiggly core. So I'm just going to let myself get farmed down here, and I'm always going to come in with Credilli here in case it's the Empoleon. The game doesn't like accept my Credilli for some reason, but I come in with Credilli, and understanding that it's probably the Empoleon in the back, I'm going to immediately no-shield here because I want to save my shields for Corviknight to deal that pressure against Empoleon. He swaps it. I do not elect to throw my move. I feel like it's better for me to not desync the switch timer and just come in right away. And you see the sand attacks are really chunking. I know I don't really have to shield the first one, but then I'll have to start shielding. And I did know that Corviknight wins the 2 shields here, straight air cutter. So I'm going to build up to payback to threaten it, but I'm always just going to go straight air cutter here. I think going payback would just be unnecessary, right? So yeah, just going straight air cutter. Gonna have to start shielding now. Hydro Cannon draws the shield. Go for another air cutter before he gets to another Hydro Cannon. And we draw the last shield. He is going to swap the Wiggly. I think trying to maybe catch an air cutter there. I'm able to counter swap Credilli. And I throw in Charge Attack Priority, which is probably a bit of a mistake. And then also, he undercharges the Swift to try and farm down my Credilli. And I do a few bubbles. I should have done no bubbles here. If I do no bubbles, maybe Wiggly survives and I get 1 more acid. But he does farm me down. And I just go for the air cutter to play things safe. I didn't want to risk him potentially getting to 2 before I get to that payback, even though I think I could have. But I figured air cutter plus like 3 sand attacks was enough. And that's going to give us game number 1 here against Delusion. I forget what the like 30-second skipper is. But anyway, here we go. Game number 2. That's a cool little Dragonite swooping in. And we get Corv into Wiggly. So 2 positive leads for me in this matchup. And we're just going to make sure before that we throw Air Cutter before the potential Icy Wind debuff, right? Pretty simple. And Delusion, I think, plays this kind of cleverly. Instead of throwing the Icy Wind in what's like a bad matchup, he kind of just forces me to expend this energy before he's eventually going to swap out. And he swaps into Credilli, understanding it's pretty safe against my team, but I do have the Dusknoir here to punish it as best as I can. So Dusknoir Going to be really nice for me here. We're going to take the first Rock Tomb as well. And this time, because he's switch locked, I can maximize my energy. The first time I threw a little bit earlier just because I felt like it was less likely for a catch. Dynamic Punch coming through, and he's actually going to shield. He then throws Rock Tomb immediately, which I don't like. Obviously, it's not a huge deal, but I think no reason to throw it immediately. You can always do one here, because if I was like to throw Punch immediately, right, I would win CMP anyway. And then I decide to throw mine immediately, because what I don't want to happen is him swap out and catch. And now once the Credilli is out of the picture, I actually just immediately swap in my Corviknight, predicting that it's Empoleon and back. And I'm just going to commit to this payback here. He does throw immediately, so I have to make the decision of whether I want to shield or not, and I decide not to. Because I know he's dry, and my Stunfisk can outpace here to 2 moves. So I'm going to throw immediately. Mud Bomb would pretty much knock out from this range. So he has to shield. And after he throws this, I know that his switch timer will be likely coming up. I attempt to wait here. But I still allow the catch anyway. But this becomes awkward because I don't undercharge, because I wasn't exactly sure if I needed to or not. I'm 1 short of the Mud Bomb, and I think this is almost Hydro Cannon range. So I go for the catch, and you see a little bit of a reaction from me because I understand that this just secured the game. And we get off the Mud Bomb here. It was pretty much a low-risk play, right? Because if I don't catch, I'm not sure if Delusion could even, like, farm down my Dusknoir first, right? Because the Astonishes do so much. So this would have been close. It was like a low-risk play for me, right? Because I either get the catch, or if I don't get the catch, like, this is close if he can even farm me down or not. Because he would have had to commit to the farm down. So it's definitely a difficult position for him. And a shout-out to Delusion for his best ever run so far in a Play Pokemon tournament. I've always been impressed with his play that he sent us, even when he's running really fun things. So congrats to him. Hopefully only up from here. And some more top cuts when he decides to compete again. But yeah, pleasure playing Delusion there. And then we will go on to maybe the most hyped matchup of the tournament. Or at least my most hyped matchup against my friend Out of Pocket. One of the best players in the world. One thing I didn't show you guys was actually from day 1. They did an interview with me after I won, which I feel like you guys might want to see. Home Slice Rise collab. Here we go.
Thank you so much, Shira and Caleb. My name is Homeslice Henry here at the one and only Rise to Occasion. Fresh off making yet another day 2. But this one has to feel a little bit special as this is in your hometown of Milwaukee. So talk to me what it feels like.
Hey, yo, I'm wearing the same jersey.
And to be performing at a top level.
I promise. I've washed it since then.
Definitely, it's special here. I grew up 20 minutes from here in Brookfield, Wisconsin. I went to Marquette University right down the street. People that watch my stream know I'm a big Milwaukee Bucks fan. I interned with the Bucks for a few years, so like this is home for me. I've got some family here supporting, so to make day 2 in Milwaukee is always special.
Awesome to hear you have so many people here in the crowd supporting you in your hometown, but what the people at home probably want to hear about is talk to me about Dragon Hair, Rise, because that's the only Dragon Hair that we've seen so far. You're running a bit of an interesting moveset, not running any of the normal moves. Body Slam, no. Wrap, never. Aqua Tail Dragon Pulse. Talk to me about that moveset choice, because it seems like it was paying off for you.
I was experimenting with Dragonair and GBL quite a bit, and I saw there was an uptick in some Shadow Talonflame, and I wanted something that can really hard punish Shadow Talonflame, because I think that's really strong in the meta right now. So that was Dragonair, super spammy to the Aqua Tails, and I was actually running Wrap for a while, and I decided to switch it to Dragon Pulse just because having that hard-hitting move can be really threatening, can sometimes draw shields. Flying Pizza didn't fall for the baits. He was letting Aqua Tails go on his Feraligatr, so that became pretty awkward.
And I found out afterwards, I think I forgot to mention this, Flying Pizza came up to me, and he didn't even realize that I had Dragon Pulse on my Dragonair. For those that don't know, it's open team sheets now, so you see the movesets of your opponent. That has happened to me once or twice before, where like maybe I played an opponent that had Power Up Punch. I think I played an opponent that had Power Up Punch on like their Annihilate or something. Annihilate learns Power Up Punch, right? I'm not making that up. And I like didn't even realize it until later. But yeah, he didn't even realize I had Dragon Pulse. Oh, maybe I did mention that when I mentioned his perplexed face. But anyway, yeah, that's why he was calling the Aqua Tail baits on my Feraligatr.
But Dragon Pulse is definitely threatening.
And one final question for you here, Rise, before we let you go. Obviously, your day's done. You get to have a little bit of a breather before day number 2. But if you have any shout-outs, people who helped you with scrims, people who helped you with building this team, because it's a pretty unique team, and so far, it's going great.
Shout out to Brazil, because I scrimmed mostly against Brazilian players. Shout out to my Legends United teammates, and shout out to my fam that's here in person supporting.
Awesome to hear. Thank you so much for joining me, Rise, and we'll kick it back to the captors.
Thanks so much, Henry. We're looking.
Little interview there. I did another interview as well the next day, but I think I don't know if that one's worth showing. I was like a little bit lower energy. Anyway, here we go. A very hype matchup against Out of Pocket, multiple-time regional champion, international champion, something that I don't have on my resume. Just consistently one of the best players, and I felt like I had a positive matchup here. The reason I feel like I have a positive matchup here is because my Stunfisk is very safe. The best answer that Pocket has for Stunfisk is his Guzzlord. And the Guzzlord, although it's like a good matchup against Stunfisk, I think Stunfisk can actually flip that if you're up a few Thunder Shocks because of the spamminess, because you basically 3-shot it with Mud Bomb. So I liked this matchup. I knew my Corviknight was pretty good as well. Corviknight has played against everything as long as it avoids Talonflame. So like Corv Stunfisk was pretty much my bread and butter for this particular matchup. And maybe I could have brought the Dragonair more, but I was expecting Guzzlord and Fortress here. And the reason I didn't bring Dragonair is because of that, as you're going to see. Because like Fortress just shreds it with the Bug Bites neutrally and resists the Dragon Breath damage, so it's not a very good matchup. And then Guzzlord, you're taking pretty much equal damage from the Dragon Breaths and Dragon Tails. However, I don't really threaten him with my cheap charge attack, my Aqua Tail, versus he does threaten me with his neutral Brutal Swing. So it's not a very good matchup there for Dragonair either. And we get into game number 1. Buckle your seatbelts, guys. This set is kind of a roller coaster. We lead Corviknight into Lapras game number 1. This is slightly positive for me. Pretty neutral matchup, because Sparkling doesn't quite 2-shot me. I think Ice Beam does just about 2-shot if Pocket was to go for that. So I was kind of expecting him to throw Ice Beam here, but I go for my payback immediately. He goes for the Sparkling here instead. I'm always going to let this go. And I was already aware, I'm telling you the truth, I was already aware, like, don't let him catch payback on Guzzlord, right? Don't let him catch payback on the Guzzlord. But Pocket, and you might be thinking here as we let this play out, and oh my gosh, he catches my freaking payback on his Guzzlord. Unbelievable. So much energy, kind of wasted. And you might be thinking, that's such a crazy play from Pocket to safe swap Guzzlord when I have a Wigglytuff on my team, and you're right. However, Pocket understands like lines and team building, and he understands that I'm probably not going to be running Corviknight with Wigglytuff in the back because that would be just so weak to a Talonflame lead. So he's willing to make that bet. He catches my payback, which is pretty disastrous for me. I'm kind of double weak to Guzzlord in the back here, so I'm forced to swap my Stunfisk into Guzzlord, which isn't the end of the world because I still have my Dusknoir in the back, and Dusknoir is going to have a positive matchup against the Fortress. He goes for another Brutal Swing here. I'm going to fire off my Mud Bomb. Pocket's going to let it go. Still has both of his shields. I think we both still have both of our shields, right? Mud Bomb connects. And he swaps in Fortress. And I make a little bit of a brain fart here. I go throw the Discharge because I was kind of expecting him to try and catch on Lapras. So in my mind, I was getting ready to throw Discharge. And Mud Bomb is more efficient there. So not like the end of the world, but definitely a bit of a misplay. And now, I knew Shadow Punch wasn't quite enough to knock out anyway, so I don't throw it first. And I was debating whether I wanted to shield. I feel like I kind of had to at this point. I'm getting pretty low on everything. So I'm going to maximize my energy here. I think I'm at 90 energy. Throw right as he got to the Sand Tomb. Punch is going to knock out... Pocket has a Brutal Swing loaded, and I know that. And he looks at the camera. He's like, this better not be a bait. But it is a bait, and he's annoyed. And I'm like debating if I want to shield or not. And maybe in hindsight, I should have shielded here. I don't know. But I let it go instead. I come in with Corv, hoping that maybe like this Air Cutter puts it low enough where I can swap Stunfisk. But I see how healthy he is, and I don't think I'm able to get the Thunder Shock down there if I was to swap Stunfisk. Then he swaps Lapras, and I do understand that he's going to get to 2 moves here before me, so I know this is pretty much lost. But we're just going to play it out in case. Maybe somehow I can get him low enough where like I Air Cutter down before the Psy Waves. But probably not here. He throws the Sparkling, gets my final shield, and gets to another Sparkling. This is definitely going to knock out my Stunfisk, of course. And I come in Corv. Maybe I can get to an Air Cutter. No Air Cutter. And Pocket takes game 1. Really just outplaying me, honestly. With that payback catch on his Guzzlord. I mean, that was... really significant, right? If I'm able to like not allow that catch and then throw an Air Cutter and then I have an Air Cutter banked for later, I think because of how close it ended up being, like that would have been probably enough to make the difference. So we got to regroup. And I decided, you know, back against the wall against one of the best players in the world in the loser side of the bracket, I'm just going to start taking some more risks. I'm going to start taking some risks. And Pocket knew from game 1 that I wasn't going to go ABA to Talonflame. So for game number 2, I get a little crazy. And I go ABA to Talonflame. Hoping that maybe he like runs it back or runs something similar. But unfortunately, Pocket brings the Guzzlord in the lead, which means my Wiggles... is going to have nowhere to go against this back line. And I understand that's possible, but part of me is hoping that maybe it's like the Lapras again, and he just inverted the line. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe if it's like Lapras this time in the back, I can get Stunfisk on Fortress and then Wiggles on Lapras, and I can still win this game. But little do I know, it is the Talonflame, and we're going to stay in here. We do soft win this matchup. Air Cutter comes through. He pivots Fort and lures out my Stunfisk. Very smart from Pocket. Lures out my Stunfisk. Going for the correct Mud Bombs this time. And going to start chipping away at this Fortress. Because Sand Tomb was just such a weak move. Not a very good matchup here for Fortress. But Pocket knows how to utilize the switch timer to his advantage and ends up making a really nice play you're going to see here in a second. I throw another Mud Bomb. He's going to let it go, save his shields. And Pocket actually, as the switch timer comes up, makes a CMP catch. Makes a CMP catch, not only getting his move off first, but also catching my Mud Bomb on his Guzzlord. And at this point, I'm hoping that it's like Lapras and my 2-shield Wiggles can still have a chance here. I swap Wiggles, and Pocket looks up like, like I'm cooked. Like I'm cooked by Talon. And also, like, I can't believe he ran ABA to Talon. It's probably also why he made that face. But even though I know I'm probably dead here, I'm going to stay composed. I'm going to play this out. I throw the Icy to debuff him, because I wasn't sure I even get to 3 moves here anyway. So I throw the debuff move. And then Pocket gets a little bit greedy here. Maybe loses his focus slightly. I feel like he would have been much better off just throwing his Flame Charge first. But instead, he lets me get to another Icy Wind. And I draw his last shield. And suddenly, I feel like there's some play. And then Pocket, maybe afraid that like I had a move for a combo play, swaps into Fortress, but this opens up a win condition. He no longer has any shields. I still have a shield. I know I have to save it for the Flame Charge. So I take the Rock Tomb, and I have to commit to this Sand Attack down, and I get it, and I come out with a payback. And then I swap Stunfisk, which is like, people are saying it's an unnecessary catch. And maybe you're right, but like to me, it's literally 0 risk. And it's the right play, in my opinion. It's the right play because I'm clearing my debuff on the Corviknight, right? And let's say Pocket doesn't allow the catch. It's the same thing, but except he takes some Thundershock damage and I still have my shield. So for me, there's no reason not to make this catch or make this swap. People are saying it's an unnecessary, like, BM catch. Not at all. To me, that's, like, the correct play. And then we have the payback loaded. And that's going to be keeping us alive here. Pocket, obviously, kind of disgruntled now. He feels like he should have won that game. And, you know, he's probably right. Like, I think if he just threw a little bit earlier with the Talon, it makes things a lot more difficult for me, but Pocket's going to try and lock back in for this decisive game number 3. And keep in mind, we actually met in the Milwaukee Regional last season, and it was in that game, in that match, I remember I won game 1, Pocket won game 2, and I felt like I kind of threw game 3. I remember he caught a close combat from my Shadow Primeape onto his Malamar. And if I had simply just like swapped my Jump Bluff and Fairy Winded down, I would have been in such a commanding position. But instead of doing that, for some reason, I threw the other move I had. I threw Close Combat, and then I threw a Rage Fist for no reason. When I could have saved that energy for the Diggersby instead. And I felt like I kind of threw that game against Pocket last season. So here we are, game number 3, a rematch of the last Milwaukee Regional. Also, they mentioned 2 players that are former Milwaukee Regional champions, which is pretty cool. Facing off here. Decisive game 3, and it's the Dusknoir mirror match. Here we go. We're both farming, and I decided to throw here, understanding that switch advantage could matter, and if he like didn't go for the... If Pocket didn't throw his Shadow Punch, I figured he probably wouldn't want to shield at that point. He'd probably just take, like, a farm down. So he, I think, was trying to snipe me with 1 Bug Bite here if I had, like, gone for another Astonish, which is a really smart play. That would have been just devastating for me. But getting this punch off on Fortress is pretty nice. And you see Pocket shaking his head, because I think he's worried that it's Wiggles. I think he's worried that it's Wiggles in back. And I go for the payback here. He goes for the Rock Tomb. And I do make a little bit of a mistake in this game. I'm counting the bug bites here, and I thought he was going to reach a Sand Tomb. Would he have reached the Sand Tomb? I'm not sure, but I think I might have been able to get this farm down. But I decided to throw here, and I think I might have been able to get that farm down before a Sand Tomb, which would have been much better for me. He then throws the Shadow Punch he has loaded, and at this point I'm thinking, okay, it's not Talonflame. Maybe it is the Guzzlord, which would be ABA weak to Wiggly, but like I'm running ABA myself, so I'm like, okay, maybe it's the Guzzlord, in which case maybe it's better for me to keep my Corviknight around, so because he can't really farm down my Corviknight too easily here. He comes in with Guzz. I bank some energy and clear my debuff because I am attack debuffed at that point. And now we start to enter this awkward little situation where he still has both shields. I still have a shield. And I'm going to take this one as well. And then this is kind of significant here. I actually I decide to do 4 Thunder Shocks and throw as opposed to 1 to maximize my energy here. I feel like it also makes catching more probable for me. Throw again. He's over the Brutal Swing. And like I said, against a player the caliber of Pocket, you got to take some risks. You got to make some bold decisions. And I go for the catch here after 1 Thunder Shock. You saw Pocket. If you watch his, he understands, right? Like, he understands I might try to catch here. So you even see him, lean in closer and wait. Like, he waits for a split second here. But the catch happens anyway. So he's doing what he can, honestly, to avoid that from happening. But it still happens. Going to wait out my switch timer here. Come in Corviknight. And this energy I have banked is pretty nice. Pocket no longer has shields. I get off the Air Cutter. Does a little bit of damage. I get a boost. Get off another Air Cutter here. And suddenly this gets really awkward for Pocket. I still have 1 Protect Shield as well. He's over-farming, and I go for another catch. I'm like, at this point, he has to throw. Otherwise, I get to another Air Cutter. And Brutal Swing, he undercharges slightly to try and get the farm down. And then I anticipate him catching. And you see me pretty fired up here because I was really happy about how I played this endgame. I feel like I made 3 really good calls there consecutively to kind of flip this. And, yeah, I had a lot of people message me about this game in particular. And definitely I have empathy for Pocket because from his perspective, he probably feels like he had that set, especially game 2. In my opinion, game 2 more so than game 3. Game 2, yeah, he probably should have had. And then game 3 was just, I'd like to give myself a little credit there. But, of course, from his perspective, he's just thinking, if I don't allow the catch, if I do this, if I do that. So, definitely a tough one there for Pocket. But we're able to take the win. And that puts us against now Dapper Discs in the next round. And this is to get into the top 4. This is to get a medal, which is always nice. Oh, I went too far. And Dapper Discs, a terrific player, recently won a really stacked local tournament in Los Angeles area. Also defeated me in Vancouver in that tournament that I went on to win. And he's running that same Empoleon Wigglytuff core that we saw earlier. However, this time he's running a normal Empoleon as opposed to the Shadow. He safe swaps Wiggles after I lead Dusk into Emp. And I think what he was trying to do here was lure out Credilli. I think he was trying to lure out Credilli to set up like an Empoleon farm, which makes sense. But I actually didn't even bring the Credilli here. I brought my 3 best answers to Empoleon. He goes for the Icy. And I'm going to just spam off these air cutters here. This is not as dominant of a matchup you may think as it is for Corviknight. It's more of a soft win as opposed to like a hard counter. Because the charms still kind of add up. Icy Wind hits for neutral, and we just got to settle for these not very threatening air cutters. Wiggly hangs on, gets to another parting Icy Wind. And then we actually see Dapper hard pivot Stunfisk, maybe calling that I don't have Credilli based on what I swapped. And I don't want to allow that big Thunder Shock down, so I actually pivot into my Dusk. And I still have my Stunfisk in the back for his Empoleon, so I feel like I'm in a decent position. But it's a little bit awkward because he is ahead on energy, and he is going to draw my shield here. I have so much energy, I can't really let this all go to waste. Plus, the Stunfisk would be really a pain to take out. I'm going to throw Dynamic here because I want to do as much damage as possible or grab a shield. If I grab a shield, that's fine too. Help set up my Stunfisk for the endgame. And I just throw the Shadow Punch here because I don't want him to outpace me to another attack. So I settle for the punch here. He swaps Emp, and he does it at a clever time where I do another Astonish because I didn't react instantly. And now he's like, he's multiple metal sounds ahead of me. So he's going to get to 2 moves first, which is not great. And not only is he going to get to 2 moves first, but as you're going to see here, he doesn't shield. So he's able to save his shield, and he still gets to another Hydro Cannon, which is pretty devastating for me. It makes this endgame really tricky. So I have to shield. I anticipate that he throws right away with his Mud Bomb, so I luckily win CMP. Go for a catch, but obviously you can't catch on a CMP like you used to with the dirty catches. And this knocks me out, and now I'm just hoping, like, I don't think I'm going to reach a payback in time, so I'm just hoping Air Cutter plus Sand Attacks might be enough. I take 1 Thunder Shock. Personally, I thought this next Thunder Shock would KO. Air Cutter lands. I boost, and I live a Thunder Shock. And then 1 Sand Attack, or maybe 2, gets the Wiggly. And I think the boost increasing my Sand Attack damage from 2 to 3 there actually may have been the difference in that win. So very lucky, very fortunate by me. But sometimes that's the game. You just got to put yourself in a position where maybe that luck can come into play. Dapper did ask for a review just to make sure that like the turns worked properly here, which I completely understood. He was very like, it wasn't like he was insisting it wasn't right here. He was more so requesting the judges take a look to make sure that like it was the proper number of Sand Attacks versus Thunder Shocks there in the end. And they confirmed it was. So we take game number 1. Game number 2. Empoleon into Corviknight. This is not bad for me. Gonna look to take the Hydro Cannon. Payback obviously very threatening to the glassy Empoleon. He swaps Wiggles. And I actually throw an Air Cutter first here, which probably isn't the optimal play. I probably would have been better just going straight Credilli. But I throw Air Cutter first, then I swap Credilli. And then you're going to see me throw immediately after 7, and I actually go for a big undercharge here. Because what I don't want to happen is allow a big farm from the Empoleon, right? I want to have a move, if possible, for the Empoleon. And Dapper actually waits as long as possible before firing off the Icy, because he doesn't want to give me more farm. So he throws this Icy. He actually stops tapping, but what Dapper doesn't really account for is after I throw my Grass Knot, I can swap out. So I throw my Grass Knot. He like purposely leaves me a little bit healthier. But I'm just going to swap out. Once Wiggly is gone, I mean, Dusk is pretty much free. There is the Murkrow, but it's unlikely that Dapper is going to run Murkrow, Empoleon, ABA to Stunfisk. And I'm just going to go straight punch this time because I just want to get these moves off, honestly. Draw shields if I can. The Empoleon is so low, right? That Empoleon is just going to get fast move down, most likely. Stunfisk, a ton of energy here. I still have both my shields. And I'm thinking if I can just... I mean, he can't fast move down my Credilli with his Stunfisk, so I can just let this go. I think I thought about shielding for a moment here, but then I'm like, no, I just let this go. I've got a little bit of health on Credilli for Stunfisk, and then I've got Corviknight for Empoleon. He banks the Mud Bomb. I bank a Grass Knot, which is big. And then I wasn't like 100% sure where he was at energy-wise here, but I figure, let's say he's one away, I can just get rid of this. I can just get rid of this with my Air Cutter. And Dapper kind of recognizes that he doesn't really have a win condition anymore, realistically, because he's in Grass Knot range, which I have, and you're going to see him, like, very much undercharge this, because his only win con is, like, him coming out with 2 moves after the farm down, and then me not having a move. But it allows me to get to this payback. And then I combo with the Credilli and just joke a little bit, like, not trying to be him, just throwing my move. And that continues our losers bracket run. Always a pleasure playing Dapper. Terrific player, and I think has really improved over the last couple seasons, because I mean, you didn't really see him that much. You didn't really see him that much before last season. And let me check out his Dracoviz. Like, was he competing even in the earlier seasons? Dapper. Yeah, so he competed once in 2023 in San Diego. And I guess I didn't realize immediately, like, he was already finishing tied 9th, which is really impressive. And then, you know, had a stretch of maybe not the best runs. But then, bang, Vancouver number 5. Solid showing here. I think I finished around the same in Atlanta. Then Portland, that's a top cut. And Milwaukee number 5. So Dapper, definitely an impressive player. And this is going to set us up, guys, with our next match against Mr. Pranav. Pranav, super cool guy, friend, in med school. Oops. Very impressive. Very impressive young man. And has always been a great player. Oh, I went too far. Loser semi. So we've already secured 4th place at this point. This is to get to the top 3. And Pranav, like myself, actually started on the loser side of the bracket. So at this point, I've won 6 straight matches. And Pranav has won, like, the same. And here we go. Game number 1. Corviknight into Corsola. Bit of an awkward matchup. Corsola is going to win the 0 shields here. Because Payback plus Air Cutter isn't quite enough. Gonna go for the payback here. Guarantee a lot of damage or a shield. And it does land. Pranav gonna fire off the Nightshade here. And then he swaps in the Credilli, understanding that Credilli is quite safe against my team. And I throw the payback here. And in hindsight, I think I may have been better off just going straight into Dragonair here. I think throwing that payback, I think that would have been better used elsewhere. Because what happens here now is he lands the Rock Tomb. And this is kind of advanced. But only a really good Credilli after the Rock Tomb is going to reduce the damage of my Dragon Breath. My Dragon Breath, I think, do 3 damage. And a really good Credilli after the Rock Tomb will reduce it to 2 damage, which actually makes a huge impact here. So this is little stuff that you might not notice. But I'm looking to see if my Dragon Breath damage is now reduced, and it is, which is not good. Because now my Aqua Tail is not going to be able to knock out here. So I go for the Dragon Pulse. And this ends up being a costly mistake by me. Because Pranav does correctly shield the Dragon Pulse. And I actually don't get to an Aqua Tail. Versus if I had baited the Aqua Tail, I would have still got to another and put this in a more manageable farm down position. But now this has so much energy. So much energy. And it's not really farm downable. If it had taken an Aqua Tail here, I would have been able to farm it down with something. But now it's going to require a charge attack. And then Pranav savagely baits the Rock Tomb here, almost like unnecessarily, because he swaps out anyway. And I swap out. But the awkward thing for me here is going to be with that Credilli still lurking around, it's probably going to permanently debuff me, and I'm already aware of it. I'm already aware it's probably going to permanently debuff me. I also could have done one more Thundershock there. Oh, shoot. I didn't even remember that. If I'd done one more Thundershock, that could have actually made a difference here. I throw Mud Bomb. I never look at my opponents. If I had looked at Pranav the way he was, like, sweating, maybe I would have been more likely to shield here. And you see me, like, sit up, because I know this is probably a Rock Tomb bait, because it's my last Pokemon, and he's going to want to debuff my last Pokemon. However, in my head, I'm thinking, first of all, I thought it was Fortress. And I figure if I take a Rock Tomb, I'm not sure I win anyway, because I think Fortress just, like, will Bug Bite through me if I take a Rock Tomb. If I shield a Grass Knot, I felt like that was my best chance of winning this game, no matter what was in back. And if I shield a Rock Tomb, obviously, that's worst case scenario. And I shield at the very last second. And I thought this was lost after I shielded the Rock Tomb, but then I see the Corviknight. I'm like, maybe I still have a chance here. But as you're going to see here, even though this is a good match for Stunfisk, because I'm debuffed, double discharge is not going to be enough. Pranav gets to the payback. I throw another discharge here. And Pranav very smartly throws the Air Cutter here. Versus if he got kind of greedy, that may have costed him. But he throws the Air Cutter, and this will do enough tiny little chip damage. As I predict the swap here. But because I'm debuffed, this Mud Bomb doesn't even do enough, dude. Oh, brutal. I think even if I don't take that Acid, I do get Sand Attack down first. But here's the thing. A lot of people were saying, like, if I call that Rock Tomb bait, I win. I disagree. I think if I call the Rock Tomb bait, you have to keep in mind that I would have had a Rock Tomb like taken here already. So if I had called the Rock Tomb, let's imagine I'm like a little bit lower at this point, but I still have a shield. The Rock Tomb would have put me into payback range. So if I do call the Rock Tomb, that would have, I think, given me a 50% chance to potentially win if I'm able to call an air cutter bait or correctly shield the payback. So you are correct saying like I got to call that bait, sure. But you also have to keep in mind it's tough if it's a grass knot and I lose, right? If I no shield. Because like, let's say it was a grass knot and I don't shield and then it's Corviknight. If I had shielded, then I would have won if he didn't debuff me. So yeah, if I called a Rock Tomb, which I really wanted to, I would have still had a 50% chance to win, I think, because I could have had another opportunity to call an air cutter bait or potentially shield the payback. So Pranav just made the right call there. Very bold bait as well, because I feel like that was very callable by me. So now we're down 1-0. Back against the wall. And I lead Dusk into Corsola here. And I have played this matchup, and I know that I can come out of this with a shield advantage. Home Slice Henry with the advanced analysis, showing that I will get to a second punch here. I throw this, and Pranav is going to shield, and is going to give himself an opportunity now to line things up the way he wants. And I come in here with Stunfisk, and I think at this point I was thinking if it's Corv again, like if he just ran it back, and it's Corv again, I can just kind of take this energy on my Stunfisk, and then maybe Credilli up a shield can deal with Credilli plus Corv with the energy from Stunfisk as well. But unfortunately for me, Pranav made a smart pivot in game number 2 into the Fortress. And I can't really farm this down without taking another... Nightshade, so I'm forced to throw. He comes in Dilly. I swap, hoping that it's Corv, but it's Fortress. And you see like the ever so slight reaction from me, if you watch it back. And then Pranav is feeling pretty good here, knowing he's in a great spot. But as we've been doing all tournament, we're going to try and stay strong, composed, play this out, not give up just yet. Even though I understand that this is probably over because he's got his 2 hardest counters on me in the back. I figure I have to save this shield for the Stunfisk to give myself a chance. Throw the Rock Tomb immediately. And then I'm going to wait. And actually I'm able to get out and save my Dilly as a catch opportunity. So is there any way this is still possible? I am ahead quite a bit, but I'm going to need like 4 Mud Bombs to knock out Credilli here. And then Pranav baits me again, dude. I didn't even think that a bait was necessary at this point, really, but he baits me again. And if I had called that Rock Tomb, man, like I might have actually had a chance here, which is crazy to think about because this is pretty much hard countered in the back. And he's at the grass knot. I wait a turn. He doesn't fall for it. And you see me nodded, knowing that this is going to be the end of the run. But I'm going to play to my win condition, which is farm all the way down, come out with a move, and win CMP. But I know that I lose CMP here. I don't know if it's possible for Stunfisk to win this CMP, honestly. And really well played by Pranav. Pranav would end up going on to finish second place in this tournament. And the person that I lost to day one, Meteor Fallion, actually went on to win this tournament. So the two players I lost to were first and second place. I finished in fourth place. Shout out to LW Josh for his best run ever, finishing in third place, and didn't go empty-handed. Fourth place comes with this fourth place medal, which is actually my first ever fourth place medal, believe it or not, and my first medal of the 2026 season. I have finished first 4 times, second twice, third once, and now fourth once. So I've collected all the medals. And, you know, despite finishing in fourth, I'll get rid of this phone lock screen. Despite finishing in fourth, I was really happy with how I played for the most part. I felt like I made one bad misplay on day one against Meteor Fallion in the game 3 that I lost and got sent to the losers bracket. But after that, I felt like I played really solidly and hardly made any misplays. Even in the Pranav series, the misplays were more so just the wrong calls, right? They were just making the wrong calls on the Rock Tomb baits. So it wasn't necessarily misplays, but just him making the more aggressive baits and calls. And I said to Harjeff sent me one of the best players in the world. He sent me a nice message congratulating me on my Milwaukee run. And I was like, yeah, you know, even though I finished fourth place, I feel like my level of play was as strong as, you know, it's ever been. Maybe it was on par with some of my tournaments that I won. So overall, I was really happy. I thought the team was a little bit unique, a little bit clever with the Dragonair, which I didn't get to use as much on stream, but it was definitely my MVP, I would say, for day number 1. Dragonair and Corviknight. Corviknight got me mixed up there. Those were probably my 2 MVPs of this tournament. Corviknight got more play on stream, and Dragonair got more play off stream in the day 1 matches, but they were really fun to play. And also, it puts us at still early in the season, so not really a huge deal, but if you go to the Play Pokemon CP leaderboard, and I'm gonna sneeze. Achoo, bless you, Rise. It puts us at number 1 in North America on the leaderboard for this early part of the season, which is cool. It's always cool to be like, you know, number 1 on a leaderboard, even if it's still early, and you know, we got a long season ahead of us for all these amazing players to try and catch up, but and which I'm sure they will. But yeah, all that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like. Fourth place, our first medal since I won Vancouver in March of this past year. So that's around 7 months since our last medal. We've had some nice performances, like top 5 in, you know, I think I got top 8 Monterey. I got top 5 in the last Milwaukee. So just missed out by a medal with 1 placing. So we've had some nice performances, but not quite that top 4 medal spot. So all that said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, how long did this end up being? Let's see. Hour 20 we're coming up on. If you did enjoy this video, hit that like button for me. Subscribe to the channel. If you're new around here, comment down below. All your comments are appreciated. And all that said, thank you once again. Hope to see y'all in the next one. Peace.